Hi, I'm Corey Fox, and in this short video, I'm going to be talking about religious violence in the Middle Ages, specifically between Christians and Muslims, and attempt to give some insight on what exactly led to this violence and how our society could be feeling the aftermath of these events still today. So basically what this map is showing is the vast western expansion of Islam carried out following the death of Muhammad in 632 AD. The expansion saw very quick success with little to no resistance initially. Of course, this led to Muslims feeling as if it was destiny for Islam to overthrow Christianity as the dominant religion in this region of the world. Now, naturally, Christians did not at all welcome this expansion of Islam, and Christian leaders of the time, specifically Pope Urban II, decided that they had no other choice but to combat this expansion and regain the Holy Land they had lost to the Muslims. Their solution to this was a series of military campaigns referred to as the Crusades. At first, the Crusades were a success, resulting in large amounts of volunteers for the cause. These volunteers sought out everything from glory in the eyes of God to monetary gain, but nonetheless they had developed an army and re-established Christianity in parts of the Mediterranean. Despite all this, the success would not last. The First Crusade was immediately followed by several more major crusades and a handful of smaller-scale attempts, all ending in failure. After many attempts to recover the Holy Land, the Crusaders' efforts failed to produce results and would ultimately cease altogether, resulting in little more than an astonishing loss of life and Christianity being perceived as a violent, intolerant religion. The Crusades set the stage for violent conflicts between religions for many years to come. Following the Crusades, the Mediterranean, as well as other adjacent regions of the world, would be riddled with conflict for centuries. It is hard to say what an accurate measure of the total loss of life and destruction would be, but we can say with certainty that this was a very dark time in world history. One positive we do take away from the Crusades is that while the Crusaders traveled miles upon miles from region to region, they spread culture beyond anything the world had ever seen before. This included trade routes and political theories, as well as art and many other artifacts. Although this came at a high price, it did have a worldwide impact. Now that we've covered the events that established this religious conflict, let's talk about how we are still seeing its long-term effects in 2017. After the Crusades, tensions between Christians and Muslims only worsened. Over centuries, hostilities lightened, but as Christianity was established in the New World, Western civilization became the fundamental enemy of some extremist sects of Islam. This was due to the misconception held by some Muslims that the Crusades were an anti-Islam effort to commit genocide against Muslims. These radical Muslims refused to see Christians not held accountable for the atrocities committed during the Crusades. This is evident in extremist groups such as the Taliban and ISIS. In fact, prior to his death, Osama bin Laden stated that the acts of terror he committed had been carried out as revenge against Christians because of the Crusades. Some radical Muslim groups still simply refer to Western Christians as the Crusaders. It's startling to think that in 2017, individuals are losing their lives as a result of events that took place centuries ago. Although this of course does not apply to the vast majority of Muslims, this small radical portion of Islam has been able to be responsible for countless terrorist attacks and insurgencies, resulting in the loss of innocent life over the last few decades. In closing, the Crusades provided the spark that started the fire of what would become centuries of violent hostilities between Christians and Muslims. Only time will tell if the two religions can someday make amends and put an end to the violence. But until then, it's important to understand the origins of this tragic violence and the repercussions we experience as a society now as well as in the future.